Well, I think the Cohen Commission that released its report in 2012 did a good job of identifying the various factors that affect the returns of salmon. And I should note that with respect to sockeye, they run on a 4-year cycle, and so 3 out of the 4 years these days are not in particularly good shape. And some of the factors that affect sockeye population are habitat availability, ocean conditions, of course, is a big one. That we are continuing to do some work around whether or not aquaculture farm sites have any impact, and the jury's still out on that. And fishing does have an impact as well, although this year we had very minimal fishing on Fraser sockeye. So one thing that I should note is that although this is the lowest return on record, it may not be the lowest spawning on record, and so we're still waiting to see what happened with respect to fish that actually came back to spawning grounds, how many were there, what our estimates would be on that. And so that could, so far we've actually seen that fish that are coming back are in reasonably good conditions, and that the environmental conditions in the river this year were actually better than some previous years. So we're optimistic that we'll get a good spawn. Well, I think for anyone looking at this from the outside, it does, and including myself from past years when I first started working on these issues, maybe 10 or so years ago, it is difficult to understand. I mean, there's a lot of scientific work that goes into the estimates, and the estimates themselves essentially are a range. And so what we would do in planning for fisheries is provide an estimate at the kind of, the 50th percentile level or the 25th percentile level, and we could identify what we would expect the return to be at each of those levels, and say what actions we would take in fisheries management for those levels. I think the major reason it's difficult to predict is because of all those factors that I identified. So we can see how many fish come back and spawn, but it is difficult to know what happens to them in the ocean. And once they go to sea, we have some ability to do some tracking where we've for hatchery fish, for example, where we can mark them and track them a little bit, but really the big thing is that we can't see them in the ocean. So unlike land-based animals where you could go into the field and kind of count and see what's happening with fish, and you can't do that. And so that's a challenge with any aquatic species, really. So first, I didn't fact check the numbers that you have there. What I would say is that, and I just said a couple minutes ago, that this year has been actually better for environmental conditions than a lot of previous years, much better than last year, for example. And in the Okanagan, where we have fishery in a Soyuz lake with fish that come up through the Columbia system, the fish there, we had an excellent return there this year, in part because the conditions were such that the fish swam right through and they didn't wind up holding in any pools of water, which is what they might do in times where there are higher water temperatures. So we actually have seen, although maybe compared to the overall average, that the water temperature may be higher compared to recent years. It's actually been a bit lower. So I don't know if the numbers you've identified are the ones that we would use. So I'll leave that to you.
Okay.
And so I don't think there's cyclical trends as such. I do think, and probably there's data to support that there are long-term trends, and that they will have impacts on ecosystems and potentially on fisheries, but it's difficult to estimate what they would be. And so that's with respect to the climate change and what's happening more broadly. So we have seen temperatures rise, ambient temperatures, we've seen water temperatures rise. So we are, working to adapt to those conditions, but how the fish will behave and what will happen in the ecosystem is much more difficult to predict, although we do some work to assess that.